كلها بتصير بإيد نجاة شرف الدين.
مساء الخير، شكرا سام، أهلا بكم، أرحب بالجميع. بشكر بيت المستقبل على تنظيم هذه الندوات التي تفسح المجال لتوسيع هامش النقاش والوعي الذي نحتاجه في عنوان هذه الجلسة: الحل الاقتصادي الاجتماعي، هل يواجه التطرف والإرهاب؟ بالطبع سنستمع إلى الضيوف وآرائهم. أنا سأكتفي بالنسبة لي بعرض بعض المؤشرات بالأرقام، رغم أنه انطرح مجموعة من الأرقام خلال الجلسات السابقة، وهي بحد ذاتها تعطي فكرة عن خطورة الأوضاع، وأترك التحليل طبعاً للمحاضرين. 70% من النازحين السوريين يعيشون في ظروف اجتماعية صعبة، و40% منهم يعيشون في خيم وملاجئ جماعية ومرائب. معدلات البطالة لدى النازحين السوريين 68% لدى الإناث، وأكثر من 25% لدى الذكور. 64% من النازحين يعيشون في المناطق الحدودية الفقيرة التي تعاني أصلاً من مشاكل اجتماعية وتنموية في الشمال والبقاع، مما ضاعف عدد العاطلين عن العمل من اللبنانيين نتيجة المنافسة غير المشروعة. تقدر الاحتياجات المالية للنازحين السوريين في لبنان في العام 2017 بحوالي 2.4 مليار دولار، ويحصل لبنان على أقل من 60% من احتياجاته السنوية. بعد هذه المؤشرات، وهناك طبعا غير الكثير، لاسيما اللي تم الحديث عنه عن موضوع الولادات والولادات اللبنانية والمقارنة ما بين الاثنين، كلها هذه تشير إلى ضرورة تقديم مقاربة جديدة استثمارية إنمائية تخلق فرص عمل وتسهل اندماج النازحين بالمجتمع المضيف وتؤمن الإيواء وتعالج مشكلة الانتشار. الأمم المتحدة تلعب طبعا دورا محوريا في التخفيف من تداعيات أزمة النزوح، إلا أن دورها يقتصر على تضميد الجروح دون علاجها. فكيف يمكن حماية المجتمع اللبناني المضيف ومجتمع النازحين من أي اختراق تطرفي إرهابي من خلال بناء شبكات الحماية الاجتماعية والتنمية الاقتصادية؟ أسئلة واستيضاحات عديدة نود أن نسمعها حول خطط ودور الأمم المتحدة. هل فعلا يدرك المسؤولون خطورة الأوضاع على لبنان واللبنانيين، لا سيما الخطر الإرهابي؟ نستمع إلى فيليب لازاريني، منسق الأمم المتحدة المقيم للشؤون الإنسانية. تفضل.
Thank you very much. And again, it's a real. Oh, sorry, I don't need this because I was listening to my voice, which was terrible right now. So thank you very much, and it's a real pleasure to be here and to have an exchange on this issue. First, I was a little bit doubtful about shall I come as a resident and humanitarian coordinator to talk about, and I was looking what is the role of relief works and socio-economic development in shaping an anti-terrorism policy. I would say, oh gosh, I'm certainly not the best person to come to talk about anti-terrorism. But obviously, when we start to talk about, issues related of how do we prevent, violent extremism, and what are the root causes of violent extremism, and how can we, support, the government and the Lebanese to address violent extremism. Here we see a natural link with the challenges the country, is going through. I would leave, and I think we have a number of generals around the table, the counter-terrorism per se in their hand. We, as a UN, in the UN, we see it more through a security lens rather than through the SDG lens. But after that, both can talk to each other. I think just going back also to some few comments I have grasped this morning, and I think the Prime Minister of Bosnia was reminding what is the new General Secretary agenda, Guterres, generally in the world. And in fact, his agenda, it's quite clear, straightforward, 3-point, preventing a conflict prevention agenda, than sustain peace through the famous agenda of the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goal, and to achieve that, obviously we need an organization which is fit for purpose, hence, the need of internal reform. This is not part of the discussion for today. But what I'm trying to say here is that through this agenda, in fact, that's the way the United Nations is dealing, with Lebanon. If we look at Lebanon, we have I know there are always disagreement with the figures, but we all agree that we have 1.5 million plus refugees in the country. It's the highest number per capita, no doubt about this. Jokingly, I remind my Lebanese colleagues, it's also the highest number of UN agencies plus staff per capita that we have here, in Lebanon, just to show the concentration of, agency funds and program. We have a peacekeeping operation, we have a political operation, and we have a number of agency funds and program. And the approach here, going back, to the agenda of the General Secretary, is to say, well, we need a whole of Lebanon approach. What is our ultimate, contribution to the country today, as of today, helping the Lebanon confronted to all these demographic, security, economic, socio-economic, existential challenges, is to help the country to keep the stability. And that's what you might have heard. Sigrid Kaag many times briefing the Security Council, saying the UN needs to have a whole of Lebanon approach, based on 3 pillars. The first pillar is peace and security through UNIFIL, through the support to the LAF, through the support to the ISF, through the support of the border security. Number 2, it's the stabilization, all issues related to governance, good governance, addressing dysfunctionalities of the institution, addressing issues related to lack of transparency, supporting the country to organize election, and so on. That's the stabilization part. And the third one, the most important one, is the socio-economic one. On the socio-economic one, we have two aspects. One is to support the country to address pre-existing problems, because not all the problems of the country have appeared in 2012. We have pre-existing problems unaddressed, very much related to a number of overdue reform, and besides that, to help the country to mitigate the impact of the Syrian crisis, to mitigate the impact of the impact on the economy, plus the impact of a surge of 30% of the population here in the country. And Najat, you started by giving a certain number of indicators at the beginning. These are indicators we are dealing with, and it is true that despite the hospitality of the Lebanese, despite exceptional resource mobilization of the international community, the situation year after year, 7 years in the conflict, it's getting worse, and we have not yet reversed the tide of further, I would say, deterioration of the situation in the country. And when I say situation, I mean economic indicator, unemployment, and so on. And I think you have given this. Now, when we try to link development with violent extremism, maybe just one or two comments. When it comes to the UN, we do believe, and that based on a number of studies, that this needs to be addressed, understood, primarily in the context of a national dynamic, although the regional situation is also feeding and impacting it. And if we look at Lebanon, two elements. Number one, the country has not been completely shielded from a terrorist attack. There have been a number since 2011, about 40 have occurred in the country. And Lebanon has also contributed, to to send, foreign fighters in Syria. If we look at only those who have joined ISIL, Lebanon is ranked 7 among 80 countries having contributed, people in the country. So there is also an interrelation at this level. I think in general, when we look at what are the reason or the driver for violent extremism in a country, and I think it applies also to Lebanon, but that's up to us in the discussion also to look at which one applies the most, for the country. But in general, what we are talking about, you have the failure of the state, the weak governance, the level of disenfranchisement of the youth. Do they feel part of the institution, yes or no? This is an important element. The second, and you highlighted, is the socio-economic factors, but you can also have a personal reason, and you can also be in, I would say, a very polarized, a political setting. Most of the time, these are the 3 or 4, main identified driver fueling, I would say, helping people to join or to be tempted by violent extremism. I think before going into one or two of these aspects, I want also to make it clear right from the beginning that there is absolutely no group per se, no community, and this includes also the refugees, which are more prone to the fact, to the threat to become a violent extremism. I think believing this would be very dangerous, and it would be misleading, and it would also certainly divert us to try to address the real root causes of violent extremism in a given country. I just want to highlight, because maybe people are not totally aware, that right now the government, under the leadership of the Prime Minister, is developing a national strategy on preventing violent extremism, and through a series of consultation of opinion maker, in country, through consultation of representative of institution, but also a consultation with the civil society. And one of the idea that this national strategy be shortly presented, and after that to call on the Lebanese, but also the international organization to support the implementation of such a strategy. When it comes to the United Nations, we will not operationalize such a strategy, but we believe that the Wall of Lebanon approach I just mentioned before is also a contribution, to maintain the stability, to prevent the conflict, and hence also to address some of the root causes of the violent extremism here in the country. Now, let me just highlight one or two points. The one point is the socio-economic. It's a very important one. There is absolutely no doubt about this. We have seen over the last few years, because of the Syrian crisis, worrying economic indicator. We see also that unemployment is skyrocketing here in the country, and this is also particularly affecting the youth. I think one of the last study we had through the Human Development Report on the Middle East is that youth employment in places like Tripoli is reaching up to 35% of the people in age of working. And this is it's far above the average here in the country, and does not always take into account all the youth female who have joined the market and they have decided just to drop from the market. So they are not even part of this statistic. We also know that the competition on the job market between the youth is considered as one of the main driver of tension between the Lebanese and the Syrian communities here in the country. And I would like also to highlight what the Prime Minister has considered when he was in Brussels as being a kind of a ticking bomb in the country, that there are more than 500,000 youth between the age of 15 and 24 who are neither employed nor enrolled in any vocational training or are at school. So people who are not doing, anything. And contrary to the belief, you have among these 500,000 more than 300,000 Lebanese. So it's not just about Syrian youth today in the country. They are both when we talk about the 500,000, but this is definitely an issue we will have to look at. So bearing this in mind, and bearing also in mind that the main tension or driver of tension in the country is fueled by the job market, we have here a huge potential of tension. And we have all seen over the last few months that this exasperation, which sometimes I have also qualified as an hospitality fatigue, is more and more expressed. I think over the 7 years, there have been different phases. I'm here for 2 years, but at the beginning of the crisis, the attitude was, we open the door, we do our share as an international public good, we expect the international community to take care of the Syrian, but after having opened the door, the border, the houses and everything, we realized that there was a need, to support also host communities, that when the first policy started to be shaped and strategies started to be developed, and today the observation is to say, well, that's not enough. You know, when we went to London a year ago, we were talking about, well, we need to turn this crisis into opportunity, we need to create 300,000 jobs, because job is the main issue. Now, how do you create 300,000 jobs in a country where you have so many uncertainties, regional uncertainties, national uncertainties? How do you have no confidence from the international investor? You don't always have the confidence of the people vis-à-vis their own institution. Most of the exporter market have been in decline. So how do you create such a number of jobs? And this year, when we went to Brussels, the Prime Minister said, well, we are at a crossroad. We are at a crossroad about we can be optimistic or we can enter into the spiraling of despair. Now, we need to go one extra mile. We need to consider the support to the Syrian, the support to the host communities as a given, but if we want to create jobs, we need to take the drive, and that's where basically he was calling, informing that he intends with the government to prepare a master plan, infrastructure master plan, with the idea that the lead should come from the government to create a job, to modernize the infrastructure, and to position the country as a kind of a platform, a launching pad for possible future reconstruction the day, there is a political solution, and the day, the environment is conducive enough. Obviously, to succeed in such, I would say, agenda, we need cohesion, within the country. We need the political leadership to agree on what the priorities are, and it needs also, to build the necessary confidence with the international financial institute to support the country in such a plan. And that would be what I would call a kind of a voluntarist or Keynesian approach of, restarting, or maintaining the economy. Now, the second element I wanted to maybe to highlight, which are part also of the identify driver of violent extremism, which is very much related to the government. And there is clearly a strong correlation between governance, trust of citizens, investor, and the economic prosperity. And this is also the reason why we try to overcome, this extraordinarily difficult equation on how to create jobs in such a kind of environment. Now, let me share a few personal comments here, because there is something that everybody admires of the Lebanese, which is the resilience of the Lebanese. And this morning I told you that I was in Sarajevo when the Prime Minister was in Sarajevo, but in fact I was also in Lebanon in 89-90 during the last chapter of the civil war. And I came now 26 years later, which is a real honor for me to be back here in the country. Most of the time we need resilience, and I think Lebanese needed resilience, to overcome all the challenges. And this is certainly one of the reasons why, over the last 7 years, the country has not imploded. It's because of this incredible resilience and decision also that even if you disagree on everything, that you agreed that, we do not want to implode. And I think that has been very strong. But I also believe that the over-resilience had an impact on what the expectation of the Lebanese have vis-à-vis their own institution. And I think they have been close to nil, because at the time institutions were not delivering, the people had to, make sure that they could survive. And I think we all can give example. If you have no education, you have developed an incredible private system on education. You have no real access to health, you privatize health. You have no water, you find a way to get water. You have no electricity, you find to get electricity. The expectations are so low that the notion of a social contract between the citizen and the state is not always here. I'm saying this because the study we did recently on the Arab world, on the youth, is indicating how much, the youth are completely disenchanted or not interested anymore in politics or anymore in the public life per se. There is very little trust. And if you look at how this is translated in Lebanon, we keep talking about women participation, and that's definitely one of my favorite topics to talk in public. But we tend to forget the youth. Look at the composition of the parliament, the composition of the government. The youth are even more blatantly absent than the women. The study we had told us that 67%, I'm looking at 67, yes, percent of the youth in Lebanon have absolutely no trust in the immediate future. So this lack of trust, there is an urgency to restore the economy, but there is an urgency to reconnect with the people, in the country, and especially to reconnect, with the youth. Because if there is no reconnection, and you start to have all this generational gap, which are also, kind of a ticking bomb, not only in Lebanon, but in many other countries, indeed, this is a factor which might, fuel, future extremism. Let me maybe just conclude also, and I think this is very, very much d'actualité for the time being, and I think one or two presenters this morning highlighted this. The country will go very soon in election in the coming months. We hope so, but at one point there will be election, or at least we all hope so. But let's assume that there are elections. Okay, let's assume, hypothesis, let's assume that there will be election. Election and anxiety and hospitality fatigue and refugees are not always the best cocktail. And these are most of the time, cocktail for, in French, for excesses, for inflamed rhetoric. And I do believe that this is something we will have to watch out, that collectively, as a responsible member of the leadership of the country or opinion maker in the country, to make sure that this debate be contained and that the real issue be raised and not the scapegoat, which would be very easy. And let me just conclude, because I know that this morning this has been strongly expressed as a concern, but I just want to paraphrase the French. I'm not French, but just for you. But the French ambassador gave an interview yesterday, and there was it's a long interview, was in a few newspapers, and he said in French, "Le Liban tiendra bon tant que les Libanais s'accordent à œuvrer ensemble." I think the key ultimately is tant que les Libanais s'accordent à œuvrer ensemble. And we, as members of the international community, let me reassure, our agenda priority number one is to support the country à œuvrer ensemble and to maintain the stability of the country, because we know that once you have gone through all these challenges and once time will be better here, there is absolutely no doubt that the resource to rebump, will be here, and talent will express again. So, Najat, I think I will stop here. I have no idea how long it took, but
if you have anything else, you can
I will come back later after the discussion.
Okay. أنا بدي يعني ألخص أفهم منك بناء على اللي تقدمت فيه بكل النقاط اللي طرحتها. بقدر أفهم أنه حكينا كمان عن المجتمع اللبناني الداخلي أكثر ما حكينا عن موضوع النازحين، واعتبرت أنه يعني في مسؤولية كبيرة على عاتق الدولة اللبنانية، الحكومة اللبنانية، على وحدة اللبنانيين الداخلية اللي هي ممكن تحصن لبنان من مواجهة أخطار وتداعيات ملف النازحين عليهم. ولكن يعني هون شو بتعني بموضوع مساعدة اللبنانيين؟ خلينا نحدد انه شو دور الأمم المتحدة غير موضوع اليونيفيل وقضايا أساسية هي بتعلق فيها. الملف سياسي أكبر من انه يتم معالجته بحكي له علاقة بنصائح للحكومة اللبنانية وللدولة اللبنانية. نحن نعرف انه صرنا سنوات عم بيعاني المجتمع اللبناني من انقسامات داخلية وتوترات سياسية دخل عليها عنصر أساسي ملف النازحين. يعني في توتر سياسي، ولكن النازحين أصبح واحد من الملفات اللي في عليهم أيضا خلاف بكيفية التعاطي معهم. كيف يمكن تحصين الدولة اللبنانية والحكومة اللبنانية الداخلية لكي تستوعب موضوع النازحين؟
Maybe just I think I assumed too quickly that you were aware about the wealth and the scope of the United Nations intervention here in the country. I think everybody is very much familiar, obviously, with UNIFIL. Normally people are quite familiar with the role of UNRWA, but possibly less familiar with the other 25 agencies from that program. If I look collectively, the United Nations in 2016 was a program beside the UNIFIL of more than $1 billion, just the UN. I'm not talking about the rest of the international community. And primarily, the support has gone, number one, towards, yes, the Syrian in the country, the 1.5. Primary has gone in support of the Lebanese institution to deal with this situation, and primarily in support of the 250 municipalities who are hosting, about 80 80 to 90% of the refugees. And this is absolutely key. I mean, I think Ziad, this morning you were talking about the Minister of State of Refugees touring the country. I went a few times with him. I mean, basically, we are going from one municipality to the other one to listen, I mean, to the concern of the municipality, the population, and the Syrian, and jointly to find, in fact, the best way to address some of the concern. I was mentioning this morning that, for example, the main source of tension is the labor market, but you have many other sources of tension, I mean, in communities, such as, I mean, the absence of a water sewage system, such as the absence of running water connection, I mean, all this basic infrastructure. And we also know that number of municipalities in country have been neglected for many, many years when it comes to investment in the region for basic infrastructure. And since, I mean, the beginning of the crisis, we have, in fact, prioritized this area together with the government in order to mitigate also the impact on the host communities. Now, I mean, the observation is 7 years into the conflict. Please. That we are 7 years into... Yes, 7 years. 7, huh? Well, 7... Well, we started. It's the 7th year. Okay. So we just have to agree on the date after that. But, I mean, more or less 7 years. It's becoming protracted. The observation is to say it's not enough anymore, despite this massive collective effort, just to target, I mean, the Syrian refugees and just to target the municipalities and focusing on infrastructure. We need to find the ways in this environment to create growth and to create a job. And hence now today the discussion with financial institutions and the government about initiating, I mean, the master plan which was discussed in Brussels.
شكرا مستر لازاريني. رح ابدا من النقطه اللي توقفت عندها وهي موضوع فرص العمل، خاصه انه انضم لنا فادي الجميل رئيس جمعيه الصناعيين بلبنان. اهلا وسهلا فيك. اضطر يتاخر كان عنده موعد سابق. الصناعه بلبنان تغرق، هذا هو التعبير الذي استعمله وزير الصناعه حسين الحاج حسن بتوصيف القطاع ومعاناته مع إقفال العديد من المصانع أو صرف الموظفين نتيجة الأعباء المالية. كيف ينعكس ملف النازحين على القطاع الصناعي؟ نستمع إلى فادي الجميل رئيس جمعية الصناعيين.
Mr. President, Excellencies, I apologize first for the delay, which was really beyond my control. Just, if you don't mind, wait to have the PowerPoint, if you don't mind. Meanwhile, let me tell you that the issue that you are addressing and the issue of the panel is on everybody's mind and is our real concern. And as Lebanese, first of all, and also as an association of Lebanese industrialists, we were elected board 3 years ago, and we were looking what were the problems and what we could do for the future in Lebanon in general. And the social issue is for sure one of the biggest problems we were facing and we are facing. Jobs for the Lebanese. Furthermore, the issue of the refugees also was something we had to cater to or to address, even though we were not primarily responsible for anything. And you all know that the displaced came to Lebanon and were very much welcomed on humanitarian basis. And nobody was considering any other aspect than the humanitarian aspects. But they flooded the country in numbers that were really huge. I would like just to remind you that we should not forget that Lebanon is, when we say that there are in Lebanon 1.5 or 1.6 million refugees, it sounds maybe less than Turkey, but this represents at least the third of our population. This we don't notice. It is like if we were in France and receiving in 2 years something like 24 million refugees in 2 years. I think that many people are not really paying attention to this. Fini echt hoor? Non, je peux avoir le clicker? Bon. Anyhow, so if you don't mind, we'll follow. We go to next, please. May I ask you to go to next? Oui, on peut aller au second, s'il vous plaît. Oui, I would just like to remind you before, let's share together, I don't know if we went through these numbers before, let's share the numbers that we are already facing in Lebanon. This is why I wrote, it's a two-way built-in problem. Before the Syrians came, let us not forget that in Lebanon we had a growth rate of 9.4 in 2007. We had witnessed 10.3 in 2011, in 2009, as per the World Bank figures, and then you see the growth rates going down. Also, our exports are declining because of the closure of the land roads. We lost $1.5 billion since 2011. We should also mention that already before the Syrian guests, we had 444 persons per square meter. We are one of the highest densely populated areas in the world. To compare to Turkey, there are 99 in Turkey, 129 in France. So we already have to cater to our Lebanese physically and economically. And also another problem I mentioned before is the high rate of unemployment we were having at that time, not to mention the immigration. So this is a key problem. So if I look at what happened after, the World Bank estimates are at the losses incurred by the Lebanese economy are at 7.5 billion. This is after, this is only in 2004. The impact on growth from the Syrian conflict alone is estimated at 2.9 per year on our situation. Needless to mention the issue of unemployment, which I talked about, but which is alarming. It is at 25% in general for the Lebanese, and it could go as high as, I'm reading 32 here, but it goes as high as 34% for the youth. So these are the issues we are really tackling and addressing. Some do say or do think that the Lebanese industry has taken advantage or has benefited some way from the Syrian presence, because there are more 1.5 million consumers in Lebanon and using Lebanese products. This is very limited. I can assure you that this is not the case. What is noticed also is a substitution of workforce in the Lebanese. Also, we have I don't know why they tag us that we in industry are doing this. No, I don't hide that in some industries they are hiring some Syrians. But what is noticeable, and for sure, and you can witness that at all restaurants or at all professional services, you see more and more Syrians taking the job of Lebanese. We are facing another issue, which is the issue of some displaced companies, some displaced establishments from Syria coming to Lebanon and establishing themselves as if they were at their home country. I know that when we are asked, for example, when we are encouraged to invest in France or to invest anywhere, yes, they attract us, they call us, they give us incentives, but they don't tell us, bring with you 200 Lebanese persons in France and pay them the Lebanese wage in France and do compete in France. So this is what is happening, and it's happening, and people don't talk about it, and it's taken for granted, like if we can tolerate. And what is happening is that it is taking more, and it's aggravating, and they are also hiding sometimes with a facade, a Lebanese facade, and it's all a Syrian structure. I'd like to insist that we have nothing against foreign investments. We welcome foreign investments. We like to have foreign investments. Syrians are known to have been also strong and capable industrialists in specific fields, which we did not see. They did not bring to Lebanon the value added or the industries which could have brought to Lebanon a plus. These we did not see. What we are seeing, unfortunately, is the smaller companies who are bringing a nuisance, because we have already a strong competition. I did mention that we had lost our substantial amounts of exports. So this has created an additional pressure on demand, aggravated by this nuisance. On another point also, and I'm glad that His Excellency is here, we are raising this issue of the aid given to the Syrian displaced. Much aid. I would certainly thank donors who are giving aid in nature. If France wants to give anything from made in France to the Syrians displaced in Lebanon, for sure this is the least. Thank you, France, for what they are doing. But what is happening is that some countries are sending money, and the money is used to buy goods for the Syrians who are in Lebanon from Turkey and from Jordan. I think this is not acceptable. The minimum is that those Syrians who are in Lebanon could be supplied with goods from the Lebanese industry. Having said that, let me just remind you again what the World Bank is saying. These are from 2014. Already the issue was raised about the impact on stabilization, on growth, and also on the issue, the incidence on society, on Lebanese society. We have, as I started by telling you that we addressed the issue. Although we are industrialists, supposed to be looking after our own interests and our own lobby group, we were very much aware that the situation should be addressed in general. The whole economy had to be addressed. This is why we proposed 3 years ago a 6 pillars socio-economic program, not for industry, but for the whole economy, for the Lebanese responsibles. Because Lebanon, despite all what is happening, is also a country of potential. We have financial assets. Our banks have assets that are not that are substantial. They exceed $200 billion, and we have a very powerful human resources who are dynamic here and around the world. So we asked that, and we cannot keep Lebanon living at the pace of 1% growth coming from 10.3 by the excuse of the instability, of the surrounding instability. The surrounding instability has, now we are in 2017, and we're not seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. So we cannot keep Lebanon being a hostage of this situation. So we call to Lebanize the Lebanese economy, to use our own intrinsic resources. Meaning, we don't want to close Lebanon. At the opposite, we want to have Lebanon open and take advantage of, collaborate with Lebanon's friends around the world, and there are many, and also of the Lebanese diaspora. So we called for the 6 pillars. I'll go quickly over them. We did not reinvent the wheel. Pillar 1 is to adopt an economic stimulus package for the whole economy, for all economic sectors, like the economic stimulus package initiated in the US in 2008 after they had the financial crisis. They did inject 3% of the American GDP into the economy. That represented for them $389 billion, and we were calling to inject 3% of the Lebanese GDP in the whole economy. Number 2 is adopting a time-phased reform with administrative empowerment just to start the reform, although it will take time. 3, enhancing the social conditions of both public and private sector. Number 4 is particularly the issue we had in mind for the Syrian refugees, because also as president of the Association of the Lebanese Industrialists. I can assure you we are receiving many delegations trying to convince us or trying to prospect with us how we can take advantage, quote unquote, of the Syrian cheap labor and how we can make that, turn that into something we can make use of. And our idea was, first, we'd like for them to go home as quickly as possible, for them safely and with all the respect we owe them. And we are responsible for, above all, creating jobs for the 25% unemployed who are really our prime concern. Nevertheless, we are also conscious, the Lebanese for sure, and there are 34, as I've said before, as youth. So our immediate and only concern was that, nevertheless, as responsible and as pragmatic people, we wanted to find a solution. So we proposed back in 3 years ago that we address the issue of Syrian labor through what they can do without hurting the Lebanese. The idea was that we would ask the international community to help Lebanon into rebuilding its infrastructure. Because for the past 20 years, we have been very shy on spending on the Lebanese infrastructure. So if the Syrians would work in this field, they would be able to find jobs, so they will not go into other lucrative, entre guillemets, activities and find a job, and this would be a win-win. And we will find jobs for the technicians, Lebanese engineers, and lots of jobs of manpower for the Syrians who originally and traditionally have been very strong in the construction field in Lebanon. So this was our suggestion, and I'm proud that this is what the Lebanese government is today calling for. And on another note, in number 1, also, we were saying, also, we have a program called Lebanizing the Lebanese workforce. So that in a period of time, through a program, we can create jobs. And we are aware that some jobs are not taken by Lebanese and could be given to foreigners, and why not to Syrians? We have nothing against them when it works into this framework. And we were saying, also, we call on the European community and the international community to help us in our exports. Because if you are helping Lebanon, we are grateful that the international community is helping Lebanon. But let me give you some figures. We are importing, I said maybe at the beginning, we are importing for $19 billion, and we are exporting now for 3. They are 2.9. And we were at 4.5. We have to increase our exports. If we do let workers, Syrian workers or Lebanese work, and we do not have a growing market or a bigger market, there is no way on earth where we can continue. I give you concrete examples. With all respect and with all the goodwill of cooperation. We are importing from Europe around anywhere, because of the rate, anywhere from 7 to 8 billion euros per year. And at the same time, we are exporting to Europe from 300 to 400 million euros. So there is room for us to export more. We are not calling for protectionism or anything. And I have told the French ambassador myself when he first came to Lebanon. France, I give you concrete examples, is importing from Lebanon for around $50 million. Our imports from France stood at that time at 1.1 billion. So there is room, and France is importing from the world for 548 billion euros per year. So if Lebanon's exports increase to 300 million, it will make a hell of a difference for Lebanon, but it will be maybe samples in Paris and nobody will notice them. So it's a win-win. So these are concrete ideas whereby we can really turn this tragedy into and to minimize its impact. Just to conclude on the issue of our program, we have also called for the PPP to be put in motion, and point 6 to initiate the oil and gas to put it on track. And this has started. So I'll come back again We also called for a socio-economic task force for the government to move on to these things. Here, if I may come back to how we can collaborate and reduce the social impact and move these people, be it Lebanese or Syrians, from being prospects for terrorism and military action into something more productive, I come back again. So we have to Lebanize the employment. We have to boost the exports from Lebanon. We have called for the socio-economic. And now also there is a change. Maybe I'm not a politician. If there are talks about secure zones in Syria, if they can go to their home country, maybe, and there are, by chance, there are also industrial zones that are built on one of them is on the border. It could be possible also to prospect investments in these industrial zones and make use of Lebanese and of Syrian workforce. So these are some of the ideas we think that are possible. We are again calling that we have to turn this potential usine à gaz into something that we can minimize the damage. I tell you very frankly, because I see that there are many guests from Europe, you have to understand that also the issue of the Syrians for us reminds us, I did not witness that, but we went through the issue of the Palestinians who were supposed to be here for a few days and who have been here for years. So this is why you see us insisting every time on temporary solutions. But concretely, I think what we are suggesting are possible, pragmatic solutions. They don't call for much, subsidizing, not supporting the infrastructure and helping us export more. I'm sure that by exporting more, it's a win-win for everybody. And again, I hope that this problem will be solved for the sake of humanity, for the sake of, we have been through problems and wars and we know what it means, and I don't wish anybody to go through that. So for them, for their families, we wish that they go home as quickly as possible. Thank you very much.
شكرا استاذ فادي جميل. رح ناخذ يعني مداخلات، بس اذا ممكن تكون مختصره، اذا ممكن. تفضل بلش معك.
بس نقول له استاذ فادي شكرا على مداخلتك. بالعرض اللي قدمته حضرتك اوضح بكثير من الاقتباسات اللي اخذوها بالاعلام عن رايك على الموضوع اللي بين كثير سلبي بالاعلام، ولكن العرض تبعك كان شامل وممتاز. ولكن بدي ضوي على 3 نقاط سريعين ست نجاة، مشان ما يبين عرض استاذ فادي يخلق بين الربط وبين السببيه. يعني وجود اللاجئين السوريين لم يسبب هذه الخساره الكبيره، هو الازمه بسوريا وضوى عليها استاذ فادي، مشان ما يصير في سبب والله انه عندنا في 1.5 مليون وصلنا هيدي وحده، انه في ازمه كبيره بسوريا والمنطقه ما لازم ننساها. يعني حتى لو رجعوا هلا السوريين بكره هذه الامور ما حتنحل. 2، كثير من القضايا اللي تفضلت فيها استاذ فادي هي قضايا تتعلق بهيكليه الاقتصاد في لبنان، واللي هي تاريخيا ظالمه للصناعيين ولكل المؤسسات. فيعني مش بس هلا وجود السوريين هو اللي سببها، في قضايا كبيره بتتعلق انه ما في تشجيع على الاقتصاد، ولا بعمره الاقتصاد ولا بعمره الصناعه اللبنانيه وصلت لقدره تنافسيه. فبشكل عام يعني او ساعدناها لتصير تنافسيه. والنقطه الثانيه انه هيكل اقتصادنا هو يعتمد على المؤسسات الصغيره، يعني اكثريه المؤسسات 54% هي مؤسسات صغيره. فبدي اقول انه كل هذه لازم نحطها بعين الاعتبار او بعين النقاش، مشان ما تروح على انه والله اللاجئين عم يسببوا هذا الازمه. بس اخر نقطه بدي اقول انه في استهلاك كبير من وجود السوريين في لبنان، يعني المصانع والمعامل، الخبز، اللي الصناعات الغذائيه عم تستفيد. وما لازم كمان نسعى عن هذا الموضوع، يعني نفرجي كله بس في أزمة. في 1.5 مليون مستهلك ما عم ياخذوا يعني الاشياء اللي بيقبضوها على بلادهم، بالعكس عم يستهلكوها بلبنان، ولازم نضوي عليها. ما عم بقول هذا الشيء يعني كافي، ولكن عم بقول في هذا الموضوع. بس في 800 مليون دولار من المستثمرين السوريين استثمروها بمصر استاذ فادي. ليش نحن في لبنان ما استفدنا منها؟ وكل هؤلاء المستثمرين راحوا عن طريق مطار بيروت. راحوا من بيروت على مصر لانه ما كان في اي بيئه بتساعدهم والله لتستوعب هؤلاء المستثمرين انه تعالوا اشتغلوا احنا وياكم.
بيئة حاضنة.
بيئه حاضنه للاستثمار. شكرا باختصار لانه نجاة تختصر.
تفضل لانه مشان اعطي مجال للكل.
Thank you. My name is Mike Bruce. I'm from the Norwegian Refugee Council, and I just want to note that we're concerned about a dialogue that suggests that part of the issue is that Syrians in the workforce are taking jobs from Lebanese people. This really isn't the case, and this doesn't acknowledge the substantial push factors that refugees are facing. For one, we know through our fieldwork, through our legal assistance programs, that frequently when refugees of working age attempt to renew their residency, they're frequently told by the authorities, no, go out, find yourself a sponsor, and get yourself a job. And we're also deeply concerned about that sponsorship system because we know that it's a conduit to abuse and exploitation. And that's the second area of concern here, is that employers themselves are seemingly more than happy to exploit the refugees' desperation, their desperation to secure legal residency under the law, and their desperation to provide for their families. So I think before we continue to suggest that, you know, the issue here is refugees taking Lebanese jobs, we need to acknowledge that internal responsibility for this situation, for the recruitment, and for refugees being forced into this system. Thank you.
شكرا. زياد عنده تعليق وحضرتك رح زياد تفضل.
بس أنا عندي هيك 3 أفكار صغار بدي أقولهم. الفكرة الأولى ذكرها مستر لازاريني اللي بتتعلق بأنه لبنان بلش يبني استراتيجيته الوطنية لمكافحة التطرف العنيف ربطا بموضوع النزوح السوري، وبنفس الوقت أكيد أشار إلى دعم الدولة من خلال الأمم المتحدة للبنان للإبقاء على استقراره. بعتقد أنه بمحل ما نحن وقعنا في محظورين. المحظور الأول، بلشنا نشوف استقرار البلد بمواجهة النزوح السوري، وأتكلم كلبنانيين مش كأمم متحدة. الأمم المتحدة عم تستجيب لحاجاتنا، أنه باب حماية الاستقرار بمواجهة النزوح السوري أنه عطونا مصاري، وهيدي خطأ. المحظور الثاني أنه نحن الظاهرة الخلفية لمكافحة الإرهاب، نعم، بس سؤال كيف؟ التحدي الأساسي بعتقد بالأول أنه نرجع على هالجود governance يلي أشار لمستر لازاريني، يلي هي مش بدي أقول هشة وضعيفة، هي مش موجودة بالمرة. الجود governance هو الأساس. لو عرفنا عملنا جود governance بموضوع النزوح السوري مثل ما عرفنا عملنا جود governance بولا قطاع لهلا، كنا بألف خير. إذا التحدي هون، وبعتقد الأمم المتحدة على قدر ما عم تقدر هي كمان عاملة ريزيلينس على متطلبات الحكومة اللبنانية. وأنا أتكلم من موقع، وأنا في موقع رسمي، لأنه نحن أوقات ما بنعرف حالنا شو بدنا، وبنكون ضايعين كيف عم نتصرف، ومنلخبط كتير توجهات تكون معمولة جدية لأنه في عنا خلافات سياسية. فإذا التحدي الأساسي نقدر نقتنع إنه لازم نعمل جود جوفرنانس. والشغلة الأهم كمان إنه هيدا الموضوع بقدر ما بيحتاج جود جوفرنانس، بقدر ما بده فكفكة العقد السياسية. مشان هيك انك تعمل ناشونال بوليسي بموضوع النزوح السوري بيقتضي توافق سياسي بالاول، وهيدا بمحل ما بعتذر اقول بيقتضي احتيال على الطبقة السياسية بشكل ما وتوريطها في سياسة عامة. اذا انتم طلبتوا منها هي تعملها ما رح تعملها، في طرف ثالث بده يعملها ويورطها فيه، والا هي كيف ممكن تكون بالانترست تبعها انه يكون في سياسة عامة لشو؟ مش تتحافظ على مصلحة البلد، تتحافظ على مواقع نفوذها. شوفوا لأي درجة نحن وصلنا من التراجع بهذا الموضوع. بدك تقنع الطبقة السياسية انه تتحافظي على موقع نفوذك، بدك تحاولي ببناء سياسة عامة لمواجهة النزوح السوري، مثل ما مواجهة كل الأعباء اللي عم يتكبدها لبنان بسبب غياب الجود جوفرنس. ثانك يو مستر لازاريني على كل الدعم اللي عم بتقدموه، وبعتقد انه مهمتكم كتير صعبة اذا مش مستحيلة، لانه بعقلنا اللبناني نحن بعدنا بنعمل كتير سياسة وبعد ما تعلمنا نعمل سياسات.
شكرا زياد. سام.
فقط يعني بس لتصويب النقاش بثلاث نقاط. بدي بلش من الموضوع يعني الجلسة الثالثة اللي هو ما بدي كرر شيء قالوا زياد، بس زياد ركز أكثر على قضية الجود جوفرننس أو الحوكمة الرشيدة أو الصالحة. أنا باعتقادي القصة أكثر بكتير بلبنان من حوكمة صالحة بس، لأنه الحوكمة الصالحة هي نوع، دائما عم بستعمل التعبير، قضية شبه تقنية. إنما المشكل في لبنان وصلنا إلى مرحلة إنه الأزمة أزمة كيانية أكثر منها هي أزمة قد تحل بحوكمة رشيدة أو قانون انتخاب أو فقط مكافحة فساد. لأنه لنوصل لحوكمة رشيدة أو مكافحة فساد بده يكون في إطار للحكم، وإطار الحكم في لبنان هو غائب كليا، يعني تما أقول شبه غائب. يعني هذه النقطة بتوصلنا لفكرة أنه حماية لبنان من مشكلة النزوح السوري في 50% منها هي حماية لبنان عبر تسوية لبنانية إذا ممكنة، وإذا ليست ممكنة كل التفاصيل الأخرى عم ندور بحلقة مفرغة ما بتوصل إلى أي نتيجة. لأنه المشكل بلبنان بمقاربة النزوح السوري مثل مشكلة لبنان بمقاربة الكهرباء أو الماء أو المجارير، مشكلة تتحول من مشكلة صغيرة إلى مشكلة كيان ووجود. بكل العالم في مشاكل، إنما مش المشاكل السياسية بتتحول فورا إلى مشاكل كيانية. هذا من هن. النقطة الثانية بس بدي أقول للي قالوا مستر رازاريني، وفكرته كتير رائعة حقيقة، إنه هيدا الريزيلينس اللبناني أو التعود أو الأكوتيمانس أو ما بعرف شو بدكم تستعملوا تعبير، هذا أسوأ شيء عاشه لبنان. لأنه استمرار الحرب بلبنان أو الحالة الاستثنائية من سنة 69 لغاية 2017 سببها ما يوصف ويسمى عن زور أو عن حق بالريزيلينس. اللبناني مش معناتها عنده ريزيلينس بقدر ما عنده تدبير الأمور تتمشي لضل مستفيد، لا أكثر ولا أقل. وهذا سبب من استمرار كل الأزمات من أزمة صغيرة إلى أزمة كبيرة. النقطة الأخيرة قضية السيفتي زون، هيدي بدنا نرجع لها، وهيدي عم نقولهم بس باختصار بما أننا نلخص أهم النقاط اللي مرقت فيها هذه الندوة. سيفتي زون إذا ممكن، يعني تجاربنا مع النظام السوري، وهذا النظام معروف بحقيقة بتوحده، فيعني أي كلمة سيفتي زون ممكن تصح إذا لم تكن نتيجة توافق روسي أمريكي كامل، مش توافق على سيفتي زون. يعني التوافق على سيفتي زون ممكن أن يخلق مثل ما قال السيد زلاتكو، بس التوافق على الحل النهائي، لما بنتوافق على الحل النهائي لم نعد أو لن نكون بحاجة إلى سيفتي زون. Maybe I have to repeat in English because the problem.
My Arab brain is so good that I understood my name. Which means that you are upgrading yourself.
No,
you're pronouncing my name.
Insist on the need to
just like say اجيت الترجمة. لا في problem عندي أبو جود.
No, it's back.
I don't think so. It's bad.
I don't know. Yes.
Everything is off. Not only the microphone.
We hear the question, but
Everything is off.
Everything is off.
okay.
The issue is that the safety zone is extremely related to an agreement, a real agreement between the Russians and the Americans. And if they are able to reach this agreement, we do not need any more safety zone because we can solve the Syrian crisis itself. Then, based on this, that I encapsulated all the 3 main points in the recent session.
No, we had 2 other points, but only the safe zones.
Except the safe zone?
Yes.
بالنسبة للسيف زون أنا عم أقول لا بمعرفتنا بوحشية النظام السوري من الصعوبة بمكان تصور أنه بيحترم سيف زون، ولو تم الاتفاق على السيف زون بين الروس والأمريكان إذا ما تم على كل الأزمة السورية، لأنه هذا النظام ممكن أنه يخرق هذا الموضوع كما تحدث الرئيس زلاتكو، كما تحدث كمان الأستاذ لازاريني. فبالتالي بدون توافق أمريكي روسي حقيقي على كل تفاصيل الأزمة السورية، يعني بمعنى أن يفرض حل روسي أمريكا على الأزمة، إذا توصلنا إلى ذلك ما بقى بحاجة لسيف زون، لأنه بتكون الأزمة انحلت والسوريين ممكن يرجعوا. هلا بيرجعوا كلهم ما بيرجعوا غيرهم موضوع آخر، إنما بالنسبة للسيف زون، سيف زون كلام هو بإطار الدبلوماسية من أجل الدبلوماسية ليس أكثر، يعني نوع من مضيعة على الوقت، لأنه الكل بيعرف إذا دون توافق معناتها الموضوع خارج حتى عن أي فائدة، فقط كما ذكرت فائدة دبلوماسية.
شكرا سام. بختم معك إذا ممكن.
العميد ملحم، أنا عندي سؤال للسيد لازاريني أو عدة 3 نقاط. النقطة الأولى، في 40 منظمة إنسانية بلبنان بيشغلوا 5000 عامل، فيهم 2300 عامل سوري أو موظف سوري. من ناحية تانية الأمم المتحدة عم تضغط على لبنان لتفوت السوريين بسوق العمل اللبناني، عم تضغط بقوة، مش كيف ما كان، مش يعني هيدا شيء عمال يوصل خوف عند اللبنانيين إلى أونروا لبنانية. هل الأمم المتحدة عم تسعى إلى أونروا لبنانية، أونروا للسوريين مثل على غرار الأونروا تبع الفلسطينيين؟ وآخر شيء بدي أسأل ما يتعلق بمؤتمر بروكسل بنيسان. قدم لبنان 17 مليار دولار خسائر، منح أو قدمت مساعدات أو منح بقيمة 11 مليار مع بعض القروض، مع تسهيلات ببعض القروض. شو رح يعطونا منها؟ شو رح يستفيد من لبنان؟ شو الكمية لحصة لبنان أو كيف رح تكون هالمساعدات هاي؟ شكرا.
شكرا أستاذ ملحم. رح أخذ تعليق مستر لازاريني بداية، بعدين أستاذ فادي.
Yes, just a few comments and then I will answer straight your question. Number one, I mean, I definitely welcome Mr. Jamai's vision. I mean, this economic stimulus we are talking about, because we talk about this now for 1 or 2 years, but finally, there is a kind of ownership also from the government. And basically, when we were talking about the master plan is about the infrastructure, but the idea is to contribute to this economic stimulus, because the observation is to say humanitarian assistance, stabilization in host community is not enough. It's not enough to compensate, the loss in the labor market. So, but this will take place if, as you said, it is considered as a national priority by the government. It needs to be a national priority, because if it is just a priority of your association or a ministry, we won't succeed. And that's the reason why it's important, to try to create this ownership, the enthusiasm behind, and to make it happen. That's the only way, today, under such an environment, to create a job, for the people. Otherwise, confidence will not be here. I can't agree more that a national strategy is required. There is no national strategy. We have a policy of 7 points of restriction, which was adopted at one point, end of 2014, but there haven't been any national policy per se. So that's important, because the day you have, that means you have unity behind the policy. But for the time being, this unity is not yet there. So that's the reason why we are dealing on a, I would say, more day-to-day or week-per-week basis for the time being. I think one of the objectives of the United Nations in support of the government is to shield the country from the crisis. We're not saying to shield the country from the refugees in the country. We are talking about shielding the country from the Syrian crisis. And that's what we mean by keeping stability during a period of extraordinary exposure to, the region. At the time, the country is so exposed, so fragile, so vulnerable, and this is a top priority. Now, going maybe to one or two specific questions. I think on the job market, I want to clarify. Number one, the UN is not pushing for access to all the job market. I think we are not pushing for issuance of a work permit to everybody. We understand, the concern of the Lebanese, but we also understand that the Lebanese are relying on the Syrian workforce in a number of sectors. And the traditional sector, and that's the reason why the work permit, I talk about the work, not the residence permit, the work permit was not on the top of the list anymore, because the legislation in country allows the Syrian to work in free sector. Construction, we have the agriculture, and we have the hospitality, you call it environment, but my understanding is that you have sometimes a broad definition of environment, so in this kind of services. And this is absolutely key. The Prime Minister said it a few times. You had up to hundreds of thousands Syrians in the country. When the economy was booming, no one saw them. The economy is not booming, so we have to readdress the issue of the economy. But the access is there. So we are not asking, to provide in every sector who would be in direct competition with the Lebanese. But we know that the structure of the Lebanese economy, allows, for the Syrian to step in. And when it comes to what's being perceived as unfair competition, the position is companies have to abide to national law. And if someone creates a company and it's contrary to the national law or does not pay the necessary taxes, indeed, this needs to be implemented. You have a certain number of laws, they need to be implemented, but we have also to be careful not to implement it in a way it becomes discriminatory. You have laws and they have to be equally implemented and applied after that to everybody. We are not talking about creating an UNRWA. That was 70 years ago, and I think there would be, I go back to what the Prime Minister said, you need a consent and you need an appetite. I would say there is no appetite or consent from anyone to create an UNRWA for the next 70 years. I think that's one situation. We are talking about another one. But what we are talking about is to help you, and I paraphrase Mr. Gemayel, to help you during this difficult temporary period. And the temporary is important, but during this temporary period, it's important that the presence be in a dignified way. That's the only way also to maintain after that social stability, a social cohesion, in the country. I think you had a last question about Brussels or London. Let's go back to the figures. In London, there were 12 billion committed, 6 billion for 2016, and 6 billion beyond 2016. The idea of this conference, London was a pledging conference, the idea was we want predictable funding because we know the crisis will not get out tomorrow. We need predictable funding. Now, in Brussels, it was not a new pledging conference. It was a reiteration of London. There have been some additional pledges. And basically in Brussels, again, they say 6 billion for 2017. And I think there is another 3 billion for the coming years already pledged. Which means all in all, 2017, we would expect the same than 2016. In 2016, Lebanon got $1.6 billion, which I would say compare, to the region, and the 6 billion included Syria. I would say Lebanon got an important share of the 6 billion having been made available. And last but not least, just to complement also Mr. Gemayel figures, we did a study in 2014. In 2014, the overall assistance was 800 million. Basically, we could trace 800 million invested directly in the economy. 300 million were bought abroad. 800 million invested in country with a multiplier of 1.6, which has been estimated as a direct support to the economy of 1.2, 1.3 billion. And the estimate was that we contributed to 1.6% of the GDP. So after that, we can look at the situation could have been worse. We cannot reverse everything. We are talking about the crisis with its macroeconomic impact, including in export market. But we have to reckon, and like my colleague of AUB also said, that there have been also contribution to the economy. There is a cost, but the contribution has mitigated the overall impact on the Lebanese economy. I'm not minimizing. It's a huge one. It's a very difficult one, but we should not ignore the contribution also to the economy.
شكرا. نحن ما عندنا شك انه في مساهمه كبيره من الامم المتحده ومن عدد كبير من الدول، انه عم نعتبر انه غير كافيه فقط. بختم معك استاذ فادي جميل.
Thank you. First, I would like to thank Mr. Lazzarini for all what you are doing. Maybe I did not say it enough. For all what you and your team are doing in Lebanon. Let me just come back to the issue that I maybe went too fast, but I insisted on showing that the Lebanese crisis, the Lebanese economy had problems before. I showed that we had a decline in our growth rate before the Syrians came. And I'm saying that the Syrian presence aggravated the situation. So facing this, I missed also your presentation, but I understood that you talked about resilience. And our concern is that we have shown so much resilience that it has become part of us accepting anything. I think it is part of our duty to come to you and to the whole world with the truth. Okay, and the truth is, you mentioned that I did not talk enough about the Syrians' benefits. I agree with you that some Syrians are buying things from here, but you can be sure that if you do your analysis, we are not taking advantage. What we took advantage of really, as concerns the Lebanese industry, is maybe the stoppage of the flood of goods coming from Syria, which has went a bit, which is now a bit less than before. Otherwise, we're not really selling much more to the Syrian population as Lebanese industry. I'm not saying that it did not increase, but it did not offset. I certainly agree with you that we are complaining as industrialists of a lack of any policy, of any economic policy, and for sure we don't blame it on the Syrians, and it is not in our interest to do so because we are seeking that we do something about our situation. The Syrians are aggravating the issue. I'm mentioning the Syrians industry coming because this has increased and this is increasing and this is not possible. Let me just conclude because I don't want to repeat everything that has been said. I think in all fairness, with people who respect each other, we are facing a big problem. We can say, okay, Lebanon is one of the parties concerned. We are not the only party concerned with finding a solution to the Syrian problem. And if I consider that we are partners with Europe to find a solution, how many Europeans are there? 300 million. If there are 400 million, let us split the Syrians on the refugees that are in Lebanon, split them all over. So I find it really, for me, who have been suffering and who have been trying to find solutions, by the end of the day, that we are criticized because of some application of a rule whereby on a few we require things for the refugees. I don't think this is our creation. So to be positive and to conclude on a positive note, this is a humanitarian issue, which is a time bomb for Lebanon, and it is the flood of refugees to Europe is a problem to Europe. I think all together we should confront it. Without, I can just conclude with an example. We are in talks with the European community. They tell me, okay, because why don't we export more? There are no bans, but there are some restrictions. They tell me, okay, for a few rules of origin, we can derogate if you promise that you take Syrians. Again, put yourself in my shoes. How can we accept that we derogate like they're doing in Jordan? Okay, what I'm saying, let us help Lebanon's industry, let us help our exports. Naturally, it will trickle down, but we cannot put it as a sine qua non for any contribution. I think, as you have mentioned, now people are listening to us, at least industrialists, more, because they see that the Lebanese economy's prospects are getting more and more gloomy, and there is no other way but to promote the productive sectors. So are facing two crises. One, the Lebanese continuing, and the Syrians as well. So let us together bring forces together, address this issue of, I'm sorry to say, we have together to find solutions. How we can, this infrastructure, get it moving, and also our exports, let's try to raise them. Otherwise, there is no possible solution, at least economically. And if we don't find a solution for people who cannot find jobs, I'm sure they will go somewhere else. And again, thank you first, thank you for this workshop, and thank you for listening.
شكرا استاذ فادي الجميل رئيس جمعيه الصناعيين. بشكر مستر فيليب لازاريني وبشكر بيت المستقبل. استاذ سام، عندك تعليق اخير بالنسبه للتوصيات؟
مش تعليق. في عدد من التوصيات اخذناها مكتوبه، سوف تنشر بالتقرير النهائي باللغتين العربي والانجليزي وعلى الموقع تبع بيت المستقبل على الويب سايت. إضافة بدنا نترك كلمة الأخيرة بس شي 3 دقايق لزياد ليلخص تقريبا، يعني إذا في إمكانية هالنهار شو صار اليوم. ما بعرف.
أوكي. بداية بالجلسة الأولى أكيد صار في إضاءة على من قبل الوزير مرعبي والدكتور عباس ياغي على الحاجة لاستمرار الإغاثة الإنسانية المستدامة للنازحين السوريين، ولكن بذات الوقت الانتقال إلى مرحلة دعم المجتمعات المضيفة، وتم التركيز فيها بشدة على موضوع الحل السياسي والعودة، يعني بما يعني أنه الحلول الإنسانية والحلول التنموية إن كان للنازحين أو للمجتمعات المضيفة هي حلول مرحلية، ونحتاج من المجتمع الدولي الدفع باتجاه تسوية سياسية لتأمين العودة للنازحين. بالجلسة الثانية تم التطرق إلى أزمة الهوية وإلى موضوع المناطق الآمنة بشكل مستفيض، موضوع المناطق الآمنة تحديداً، وعلى ما بدأ أنه في صعوبة هائلة لقيام مناطق آمنة بسبب عدم توفر الضمانات. ورحنا كمان باتجاه النقاش حول هل نحن أمام أزمة هوية بالمعنى الفردي أو بالمعنى الجماعي، بمعنى إعادة تشكل المنطقة من ضمن الفرز الديموغرافي يلي عم بيصير. وبالجلسة الثالثة صار في نقاش اللي هلأ صار على موضوع مكافحة التطرف والإرهاب انطلاقا من رؤية اقتصادية اجتماعية متكاملة، وبنفس الوقت تم شرح معاناة الاقتصاد اللبناني والصناعة كمثال من أزمة النزوح السوري. وهيدا عرض مختصر، ولكن بدي أقول على ما هيك سمعته شوي بالغدا أنه صار فيه إذا بدكم نقد للي عم ينقال، بما معناه أنه نحن ما زلنا من 6 سنوات ندور في حلقة مفرغة من النقاش ولم نرتقي إلى مستوى الحلول. للأسف مضبوط هذا الموضوع، ولكن ربما الآن بمحاولات وبمبادرات إن كان من المجموعة الدولية ممثلة بالأمم المتحدة وبالدول المانحة، وبنفس الوقت من الحكومة اللبنانية من خلال محاولة بناء السياسة العامة يلي هي لازم تكون مش إجراءات مثل ما قال مستر لازارين. نحن كنا أمام إجراءات في المرحلة السابقة، وإجراءات مأخوذة بالقطعة مش مأخوذة بشكل متكامل. الذهاب باتجاه بناء سياسة عامة، تنسيق أكبر، وبنفس الوقت توجه لدعم مخطط التوجيه التنموي في لبنان. بعتقد هيدا ممكن انه يساعد كمان مرحليا الى نقل هذه الازمه. تأختم ب 30 ثانيه، المشكله بلبنان انه في عنا 3 مقاربات. في حدا بيشوف ازمه النزوح السوري من باب الامني، حدا بيشوفها من الباب الكياني، وحدا بيشوفها من باب الاقتصاد الاجتماعي. التحدي كيف بنقدر نجمع هالثلاث مكونات يشوفوها من 3 زوايا مع بعضهم البعض، وقال لك كل واحد منهم بيعمل سياسته الخاصة وبيفرط البلد. ثانك يو.